On Christmas, she discovered her millionaire life, yet her grandmother shivered in hidden poverty. Emily Carter rushed through the brightly lit streets of her suburban town, heart warm from the holiday spirit that danced in the air. Every window sparkled with cheerful decorations, and laughter echoed around her, but the joy felt foreign in her chest. At 28, she had sacrificed dreams and ambitions for her family's needs. Tirelessly, she had grown into a dedicated nurse, pouring her soul into caring for patients while her own aspirations waited patiently on the back burner. Just as the Christmas season unfolded its cozy charm, she received shocking news: a distant relative had passed, leaving her a sizable fortune. The same night, as Emily considered how her newfound wealth could change her life, fate dealt her another hand. She stumbled upon an overlooked letter revealing that her estranged grandmother, Eleanor, lived mere blocks away in a rundown home, struggling in silence. The glow of her own possible future clashed violently with the stark reality of her grandmother's hidden poverty. With each extravagant purchase gifted to herself and the new friends swarming around her, Emily felt less like the heart of the town and more like a ghost trapped in a gilded cage. Each shining ornament on her tree seemed to mock Eleanor's bare, weathered walls. A deep sense of guilt twisted in her gut, as she realized how close her family's history had come to being forgotten. While others celebrated their blessings, Eleanor endured a sullen loneliness that cut deep within Emily's conscience. It was Christmas, yet their worlds were galaxies apart. Emily's fingers trembled as she unwrapped her lavish present to herself, a designer handbag that glimmered under the light. How could she enjoy such luxury while her grandmother shivered in those cold, creaky quarters? It wasn't long before Eleanor learned of Emily's fortune, leading to a confrontation that shattered the fragile balance between them. "You didn't think to help me all these years, did you?" Eleanor's voice sliced through the air, sharp with unyielding pride. "I'm not a charity case. I manage things just fine on my own." Tears welled in Emily's eyes. The very woman who once secured her family was now refusing the help of the one who inherited the world. "But Grandma, I want to help you," Emily pleaded, desperation clawing at her heart. "No, I won't live like that." Eleanor's gaze burned with unbroken spirit. There's dignity in choosing how to struggle. The silence that followed was heavy, a mirror reflecting their divided generational clash of values, ambition, and what truly mattered. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Christmas Eve neared, the tension in Emily bubbled over. She decided to host a lavish celebration for her friends, ignoring the gnawing guilt. Yet as she stirred a pot of buttery eggnog, a pang shot through her chest when she realized her grandmother would spend the holidays alone, cold and neglected. This pivotal moment weighed heavy on her soul, forcing her to question the true meaning of wealth and success. Her heart raced as a sudden message arrived. Eleanor's health had taken a turn for the worse. Shock and panic crashed over her. Shame flooded her mind. Had she waited too long to reach out? Dread nestled deep within her, whispering what might be lost. Would she embrace her new life? Or would she dare to reconcile her past? As midnight approached, a decision loomed large before her, reshaping everything she thought she understood about family, fortune, and dignity. Would she cross the threshold to uplift her grandmother? Or would she let the clock strike, sealing her choices in silence? As the final chime of midnight echoed through the town, Emily stood frozen in her kitchen, the warmth of the eggnog forgotten. The holiday decorations felt less like festive cheer and more like shackles binding her to a life of superficial joy. She gazed at the glowing lights strung around her home, the glimmering ornaments, the lush ribbons, and the festive wreath on the door, all a sharp contrast to the thought of Eleanor battling shadows just blocks away. Dread filled her heart. What if this was the Christmas that changed everything? She could no longer ignore the calls for connection and compassion that had been whispering in her ears since she uncovered her inheritance. The weight of wealth suddenly felt burdensome, like carrying a precious stone that could potentially shatter if dropped. With a resolute breath, Emily snatched her coat from the nearby chair, the fabric heavy against her fingers. As she slipped it on, she hesitated for just a moment, remembering her plans. This big Christmas gathering was supposed to be her night. But as she thought about Eleanor alone, she felt an urge stronger than any party joy. Stepping outside, the cold air hit her like a splash of ice water, waking every nerve in her body. The town around her was alive with joy, laughter spilling somewhere off in the distance as friends gathered, celebrating together. Yet she pushed forward, her feet almost moving on their own accord towards Eleanor's home. Each step felt monumental, a commitment to reclaim a bond that had frayed into neglect. The path to her grandmother's house was dark, but the moon illuminated her way just enough. The familiar creaky wooden steps of Eleanor's porch beckoned Emily with an eerie nostalgia. She hesitated. Would her grandmother shut her out again? The thought twisted her stomach. But even if Eleanor turned her away, this was a chance Emily had to take, a chance to mend. She raised a trembling hand and knocked softly. The sound echoed in the stillness, stark against the festivity pulsing just a few blocks away. A moment passed, thick with silence. Emily was about to turn away when the door creaked open, revealing Eleanor, her hair tousled and eyes wild with surprise. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Her grandmother's tone was a mix of shock and wariness, those clever eyes guarding a well of deep-seated pride. "Grandma, I am here to help. I just couldn't let you spend Christmas alone," Emily blurted out, her heart racing. Eleanor blinked, clearly taken aback. "You think you can just walk in here and I know you don't want pity. It's not about that." Emily's voice trembled, filled with both determination and uncertainty. "I've been selfish. I have this wealth now, and honestly it doesn't feel right celebrating without you. Please let us share the holiday together." For a moment the silence hung between them, almost tangible. Emily held her breath, waiting for her grandmother to turn her away, to reaffirm that letter's warning about pride and family. But slowly, a softness began to touch Eleanor's features, as if the barriers were shifting. Just enough for a glimpse of hope. "Come in then," Eleanor finally relented, her voice laced with reluctance that masked an invitation. As Emily stepped inside, the chill of the night faded, replaced by warmth that spoke of familiarity. A small rickety tree stood in the corner, adorned with nothing but a few handmade ornaments. Yet in that moment it felt more beautiful than all the grand decorations she had showcased in her own home. Emily looked around the living room, absorbing the faint scent of cinnamon and old books. Warm memories flashed brightly, holiday gatherings filled with laughter, stories that had woven their lives together. Was it too late to revive that love? As the door shut behind her, sealing away the outside world and its glimmering distractions, Emily felt hope rising in her chest. Maybe there was still a way to blend wealth with love, bringing both generations together. But then, just as the warmth of the moment began to settle, Eleanor's voice broke through her thoughts, heavy with a different kind of weight. "You realize, of course, that this doesn't change everything." Emily's breath hitched. What was her grandmother really willing to share? And how would that bond shift now, with so much unsaid hanging in the air? The night was just beginning, and already, Emily knew this Christmas would be unlike any other. The door clicked shut behind them, and the crackling of the fireplace began to fill the space between them with warmth. Emily bit her lip, trying to gauge Eleanor's mood, uncertain of what her grandmother truly wanted to say. The dim light flickered, casting long shadows that danced over the walls, echoing the tension thickening in the air. Eleanor took a deep breath, her fingers brushing over a lopsided ornament hanging from the tree. "You think your money can fix everything, don't you?" Her words were sharp, yet there was a sadness laced within them. Emily paused, taken aback by the accusation. "No, Grandma. I just thought maybe we could use it to make things better together. Isn't that what family is about?" "Family?" Eleanor's voice trembled, a quiver that unexpectedly cut deep. "You don't know the first thing about family, dear. You've had everything handed to you. I'm not sure how to accept help from someone who barely understands what it means to struggle." Each word pricked at Emily, making her heart ache. "I don't want to overshadow your life, but it doesn't have to be just about this money. It's more about connecting. I think we both want that." Eleanor stepped away from the ornament, her eyes narrowing. "Connecting doesn't come from dollar signs, Emily. It's about trust, love, and sharing a burden, not throwing cash at it." Emily swallowed hard. "I don't expect to make everything perfect overnight. I just want to understand you." Share the holiday like we used to, without any pretense or barriers. The silence that followed was deafening. Emily could feel the walls of Eleanor's heart, fortified by years of disappointment, rising in defense again. She felt like a young girl again, standing before her grandmother with hopeful eyes and uncertain words. Eleanor's expression softened, but uncertainty loomed. What if I'm not the person you remember? What if I can't be that for you anymore? Emily stepped closer, fighting the urge to take Eleanor's hands in hers. You are still my grandmother, the one who shared stories of hope and love. That hasn't changed. Eleanor glanced toward the window, a deep sigh escaping her lips, as if all the burdens she carried were settling like thick fog in the room. You see this place? It's not just a home. It's a lifetime of decisions, of sacrifices and regrets. I don't want you to bear the weight of that. Then let me help, please, Emily pleaded, her voice a whisper laced with urgency. We can navigate this together. I don't want you to be alone in your struggles. I want us to make new memories, better ones. Just then a crash came from the kitchen, startling them both. Emily's heart raced. What was that? Eleanor's face blanched, and she rushed toward the commotion, her earlier tension momentarily forgotten. Emily quickly followed, worry lacing her every step. And there, among scattered bowls, was the family cat, Max, looking rather pleased with himself. Max! Eleanor exclaimed, a reluctant chuckle bubbling up despite the tension still hanging like a dark cloud. Emily couldn't help but laugh, the sound brightening the air around them. Looks like he's here to add some chaos to our Christmas. As they gathered the mess, the atmosphere shifted slightly, laughter weaving between their shared effort. Yet a question loomed in the back of Emily's mind. She realized connection wasn't merely about wealth, but the willingness to confront their past. Would Eleanor let her in enough to unlock the doors of that past? Was she brave enough to weather the storm? But as they cleaned, Emily caught Eleanor's gaze lingering on her, and for a moment, it felt like they were standing on the edge of a breakthrough together. And then everything shifted again when Eleanor said, there are things you don't know, things you might not want to hear. Emily's heart raced. What secrets was her grandmother still holding back? What truths waited to be uncovered? Their Christmas was just beginning, but it was already shaping into a night filled with revelations, some perhaps more terrifying than they anticipated. Eleanor's words hung in the air like a fragile ornament, ready to shatter. Emily's heart thudded in her chest, the prospect of hidden truths both thrilling and terrifying. Was this the moment she had hoped for? What do you mean, Grandma? She asked, her voice a soft plea cutting through the unease. Eleanor busied herself, picking up a bowl with trembling hands, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the old woman wouldn't respond. Then she stopped and leaned against the kitchen counter, the weight of her years evident in her posture. There are stories, Emily. Stories I've tucked away, stories that show life wasn't always easy. Emily's mind raced. She could feel the urgency pulse through her as she closed the distance between them. I'm here for you. Whatever it is, I can take it. Taking a deep breath, Eleanor looked at her with eyes that gleamed with unshed tears. I grew up in a time when money wasn't just tight. It was non-existent. The intensity of her gaze drew Emily in like a moth to a flame. And we didn't have a choice. We either sank or swam, and I swam for so long. I can't shake that fear even now. Fear? Emily echoed, her own heart aching. But you've made it through. You've built a life here. You've given me, but I've lost so much too, Eleanor interrupted, the sharpness in her tone forcing Emily to step back, if only slightly. My fears made me distant, cold even. Money might have come later, but it couldn't fill the void. Grandma, no, let me finish. Eleanor's voice rose, then softened. I've watched so many around me struggle. I've known hardship personally. It feels selfish to accept help when I've fought so hard to stand on my own. I don't want you to think fixing things will be easy. Emily nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her grandmother's words settle heavily in her chest. So this fear of vulnerability, this strength you've held onto, it's been your shield, hasn't it? Yes. Eleanor's voice trembled, revealing the depth of her pain. But shields can crack, and mine is old. I don't know how to let someone in without breaking apart. I don't want you to see me like that, a broken woman. But I want to. Emily's voice was insistent, filled with sincerity. The strong, the weak, the messy, it all makes us who we are. I don't need you to be perfect, Grandma. I just need you to be real. For a moment, Eleanor's eyes glistened like the twinkling lights on the tree, and Emily felt a flicker of hope ignite between them. Maybe those stories don't have to haunt you anymore, Emily suggested. What if sharing them could lighten that burden? I want to hear them no matter how heavy. Eleanor leaned against the counter, a smile cracking through her stoic facade for the first time since their conversation began. You really want to know? Yes. Okay, Eleanor whispered, a tremor of uncertainty creeping in. Let us see if we can unwrap this present of hurt together. They moved toward the living room, the sparkling tree now taking center stage. Underneath, nestled against the wrapped gifts, was an old journal, the keeper of so many untold stories. Emily's heart raced as her gaze locked on it. From the moment she stepped into this home, she felt it beckon. Would this book hold the key to understanding her grandmother completely? Would it unlock joy or further pain? Promise me you'll be ready for what you might find, Eleanor warned gently, a slow solemnity washing over her features. Whatever it is, I'm all in, Emily whispered, her resolve steady. As Eleanor handed her the journal, she felt it something beginning to crack, a bridge forming. But little did she know, within those pages lay a truth that could forever change their relationship and shift everything they thought they understood about each other. As she opened the battered cover, the faint smell of aged paper filled the air, mingling with the flickering warmth of the fireplace. Emily prepared to step into a world that had remained hidden for far too long. Yet, as she began reading the first entry, a chill swept through the room, settling deep in her bones. What could be lurking in this story? Would it bring them together, or shatter the fragile connection they had begun to build? The answers loomed just beyond the turn of the page, and with that turn everything could change. Emily held her breath as she tilted the journal's pages, feeling the texture of the old paper under her fingertips. Each letter, each stroke of the pen carried whispers of a life her grandmother once lived. The first entry painted a picture that felt both foreign and achingly familiar. May 5, 1942, she read aloud, her voice barely above a whisper. Today marks the day I might finally be free. She glanced at Eleanor, whose eyes were fixed on the flickering flames in the fireplace, the shadows dancing across her weathered face. It was as if the very lines of her skin echoed the burdens of her past. Emily felt a rush of gratitude for her grandmother's bravery, but also a swell of fear. This was just the beginning. Free from what, Grandma? She asked softly, her heart racing as if expecting the answer to break her world apart. Eleanor remained silent, lost in her own thoughts. Emily continued reading, drawn deeper into a realm filled with hopes and heartaches. She learned of Eleanor's childhood home, a cramped apartment shared with too many voices, too few meals, where laughter was a rarity. Sometimes at night, I would hold my breath as I listened to my parents quarrel about money. Every word resonated. It felt as if the walls had ears and secrets. An image formed in Emily's mind of a young Eleanor, her eyes wide with fear, clutching her pillow as she tried to drown out the sounds of despair. This wasn't merely a story, it was history. It was her history. Did you ever talk to them about it? Emily ventured, needing to understand how such strength had been forged in adversity. Eleanor's eyes filled with unshed tears. I was more afraid of their burdens than my own, Emily. I learned to carry it quietly just like them. Emily kept reading, absorbed in the tale of a girl who wanted to escape that life. Eleanor's words flowed with hopes of a future beyond poverty, of dreams that flickered like autumn leaves in a restless wind. With each entry, Eleanor revealed a piece of herself that had been obscured by the years. That as she turned the page, Emily felt a growing urgency. There was an entry dated just weeks before Eleanor had married Grandpa. December 4, 1946, it read, I'm terrified of what lies ahead, yet hopeful. Can love truly rise from ashes? The tension in the air grew thicker. Eleanor's past felt entwined with Emily's present, each word an echo of challenges faced and battles won. Yet there was still a shadow lurking, the knowledge that the hardships had transformed Eleanor into the woman she had become. Grandma, Emily hesitated. Did you ever feel worthy of love? Of happiness? Or was it always a dream just out of reach? Eleanor's gaze turned to meet her own, and for the first time, Emily saw a reflection of unease paired with longing. Love requires vulnerability, and I have always been afraid to be vulnerable. It felt safer to hide, to keep my heart locked away. Emily's chest tightened. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together. This wasn't merely about stories. It was about pain that had seeped into generations. It was about the love that had both healed and shattered. As she turned the next page, Emily braced herself. "Grandma," she asked, trying to steady her voice, "how did you move past that fear? How did you let anyone in?" The moment echoed in the silence, filled with anticipation. Would this page reveal a breakthrough she so desperately hoped for? But as she glanced down at the faded words, the flicker of the fire dimmed, leaving them cloaked in an uneasy darkness. The fragility of the moment hung heavily. Little did they both know. The next truth could either bind them closer or drive a wedge that might never be healed. With the next thought suspended in the air, Emily's fingers trembled as she prepared to read the closing lines of a chapter marked by uncertainty and hope. What would she uncover? What more could the journal hold? And how irrevocably would it alter their understanding of love and fear? The answers felt poised on the edge of revelation. Emily took a deep breath, steadying her nerves as she glanced down at the scrawled words on the page. The anticipation hung thick in the air, heavy with emotions neither knew how to express. She felt connected to her grandmother in a way that was both exhilarating and terrifying. Her eyes scanned the words. The handwriting danced across the page, elegant but trembling, like a heart echoing through time. "I remember the day he held my hand, December 12, 1946. We stood outside the old church, the one with the cracked bell and peeling paint. I was afraid of my own emotions, terrified of what happened if I let someone in." Emily's heart raced as she read on. Eleanor's words painted a picture so vivid, it felt as if Emily was there, standing in the biting winter chill, her grandmother young and full of yearning. "He told me I was beautiful, and for the first time I believed it. But deep down I worried, what if my past haunted me? What if my fears ruined the love I craved?" The fire crackled softly, punctuating the silence that enveloped them. Eleanor was staring at the flames, lost in those distant memories. Emily watched her, the lines on her grandmother's face mapping a journey filled with both heartache and hope. "Emily," Eleanor finally murmured, breaking the silence like a fragile glass. "There is so much more to that story, is there?" Emily leaned forward, her voice urgent. "What happened next? Did you let him in?" Eleanor sighed deeply, pulling herself from the past. "I tried, darling. But love, it made me vulnerable in ways I wasn't ready for. It opened wounds I thought had healed. I didn't know how to balance the joy of falling in love with the weight of my history." "Did you lose him?" Emily pressed. The question felt like a sharp pebble lodged in her throat. Eleanor's gaze met hers, and for a moment, it held the weight of generations. "I didn't just lose him. I lost pieces of myself too," she confessed. "I ended up marrying him, but my fears remained a shadow between us." Emily frowned, struggling to grasp how love could coexist with such pain. "What do you mean? How can love feel heavy?" Eleanor took a deep breath, her voice trembling. "Sometimes love comes with its own burdens. The fear of not being enough. The worry that happiness is temporary. I was a patchwork of happiness and doubt, and I kept that doubt hidden away, even from him." The room was thick with emotion, the flicker of the fire a reminder of the warmth love could bring, but also of the flames that could burn. Emily couldn't shake the image of her grandmother, alone in her struggles, battling shadows instead of being surrounded by the very love she sought. "Did you ever share those fears with him?" Emily's voice was soft, cautious. "No," Eleanor whispered, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I thought I had to be strong. I hid my weaknesses like shameful secrets." Emily felt a rush of understanding. Generational fear lined the pages of not just her grandmother's story but her life too. It was a cycle so many lived, and she had unknowingly danced around it her whole life. "If you had let him in, do you think it would have changed everything?" Emily asked, her heart racing with the sheer possibility of it all. Eleanor paused, the silence stretching between them like a chasm. "I don't know, but I wish I had tried. I wish I had been brave enough to show him my true self." Maybe then, just then, a loud crack echoed from the fireplace, sending a shower of embers into the air. Both women jumped, breaking the intensity of the moment. Emily chuckled nervously, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Maybe the universe is telling us to be brave, to face the fire." Eleanor smiled faintly, the moment driving a spark of resolve within her. What if the next chapter held the key to overcoming fears, not only for Eleanor but for Emily as well? With conviction, Emily reached for the next page, eager to uncover the rest of Eleanor's legacy. "Let us see where this takes us," she whispered, filled with the prospect of revelation. The flickering flames reflected off Eleanor's hopeful gaze as they braced themselves for whatever truths lay ahead. Would understanding the fears of the past provide the strength to break free from them? Would love indeed rise from the ashes they both carried? As Emily flipped the page, the crackling fire began to settle into a comforting rhythm. She felt a warmth in the air and also a deeper connection to her grandmother, a bond stretching across decades, infused with secrets just waiting to be unveiled. "But my past always lingered," Eleanor continued through the ink, her voice tumbling from the words like whispers from the past. "I was a girl from a small town, accustomed to making do with less money, less love, and certainly less confidence. On the outside I wore a smile, but inside, I was a storm." Emily leaned closer, the flicker of the flames captivating her attention. "What did you do when you felt that storm, Grandma?" she asked, her heart pounding with anticipation. Eleanor's eyes sparkled with sadness. "I built walls. I thought if I cast myself as the strong one, I wouldn't be rejected. I buried my doubts beneath layers of my own creation. It was easier to pretend than to expose the messy truth." Emily could almost picture her grandmother, young and vibrant yet shrouded in self-doubt. The pain of unexpressed fears made her chest ache. "Is that when you met him? The one you fell in love with?" "Yes," Eleanor replied, a smile creeping across her lips, infused with both warmth and regret. "He was everything I dreamed of, kind, charming, brave. But my own fears kept me from fully embracing him." "Did he ever sense it?" Emily pressed, feeling the urgency swell inside her. "Did he know you were hurting?" "I think part of him did," Eleanor admitted, her voice quaking. "But I was a master at hiding. We shared laughter and love, but I never showed him the haunting shadows. I kept trying to convince myself it would all be fine." Emily felt a prickling behind her eyes. The gentle flicker of the fire reflected in Eleanor's tear-brimmed eyes, a quiet reminder of the pain that love sometimes carries. "What was your breaking point?" she asked, a lump forming in her throat. "It was the night of our first big argument," Eleanor sighed, her expression slipping back into the past. "He wanted to know why I closed myself off and I couldn't answer. I felt like a paper doll, torn between two realities, my love for him and the fear of losing myself completely." "Did he leave?" Emily's voice trembled, caught in the weight of the moment. "No," Eleanor shook her head slowly. "He stood by me. But I was too busy wrestling with my own demons to see the love in front of me. Even when he offered me everything, I pushed him away." The weight of silence draped over them like a thick blanket, each lost in thoughts of what could have been. Emily's heart raced not just with fear but with understanding. "What did you wish you had said?" she finally whispered, pressing her hand against her chest, feeling its rapid beat. "I wish I had told him that I was scared. Scared of failing him, scared of not being worthy, scared of my past catching up to me. Maybe if I said those words aloud, the unspoken hope hung in the air, incomplete yet potent." Emily realized that understanding came with its own kind of power. She felt electric, ready to shatter barriers that held her back. "Maybe it's not too late," she said, trying to breathe life into the moment. "You can be brave now, Grandma. We can." Eleanor's eyes brightened with a spark of determination, that old fire reignited. "Yes, we can. But it's not just about facing the fire, darling. It's learning to share our flames." Emily felt her skin prickle as new excitement surged within her. Together they had enough courage to confront their fears, to not just survive but thrive. "What happens next?" she asked with anticipation, eyes glancing back to the page. Eleanor smiled, a mix of hope and nostalgia dancing on her features. "Turn the page. We'll face it together. We'll discover the power of truth and perhaps love is stronger than the burdens we carry." The air crackled with promise as Emily turned the page, ready to unveil the legacy waiting for them. What truths would come to light this time? And how would they rewrite not only Eleanor's history but their own? The page turned, and the words danced before Emily's eyes. The fire crackled louder, as if urging them both to venture deeper into the unfolding tale. She took a breath, letting every letter slide into her mind, ready to absorb the truth her grandmother was about to share. "I was determined to build a life that shone with brightness," Eleanor wrote. "But the shadows always crept in, no matter how brightly I shone. I thought that if I just tried hard enough, fed my dreams with constant work, maybe I could outrun my past. But my greatest fear was always lurking, waiting for the moment I allowed myself to pause. Emily felt a connection to those words, realizing that her own life felt intertwined with Eleanor's struggles. Both of them were trying to forge a path through uncertainty, while carrying the weight of expectations. "What were those dreams, Grandma?" she murmured, unable to contain her curiosity. "They were simple, really," Eleanor continued. "I wanted a home filled with laughter, warmth, and the undeniable feeling of belonging. But instead, I became so wrapped up in the pursuit of enough that I forgot to cherish the moments that mattered." The warmth of the fire flickered across Emily's face, illuminating the hope in her eyes. "Didn't you find happiness along the way?" she pressed, feeling the pull of doubt in her own heart. Eleanor hesitated, and Emily could see her grandmother searching for the right words. "Oh, there were joyful moments," she confessed. "In a way, I found happiness in the people I loved. But the happiness often felt surrounded by a storm of inadequacy. The more I achieved, the less I felt worthy. It was a bittersweet irony, and I never knew how to escape it." Emily's heart ached at Eleanor's honesty. She understood the feeling of joy tinged with sorrow. Perhaps that was the blessing and the burden of love. "But you kept going, Grandma," she said softly, hoping to buoy her spirits. "I did, and so did he," Eleanor wrote, her words heavy yet hopeful. "He was patient, always standing by my side. But I continued to withdraw, convinced he'd eventually grow weary. I thought true love could withstand any storm, but perhaps it also needed nurturing to survive." "Could you tell him what you truly felt about the storm?" Emily asked, trying to imagine how she might do the same in her own life. "I wish I had," Eleanor replied, her voice brimming with longing. "But my fears held me captive. I lost myself in expectations, believing I had to be perfect. That was when I failed to speak up. When he finally left, it shattered me." Silence swallowed both of them. Emily glanced around the cozy room, contrasting the comfort of the space with Eleanor's words of heartbreak. "But what if you reached out now? What if you shared your truth?" Eleanor looked thoughtful, a soft smile creeping onto her lips. "Perhaps that's the key. Vulnerability might be the bridge to rebuilding what was lost. It could finally free my heart, but do you think it's still possible?" "Absolutely," Emily replied. "We're both on this journey, Grandma. We can embrace vulnerability together." Eleanor nodded, a flicker of hope igniting once more. "That's it, dear. Maybe our scars can teach us the way forward. Together we can rewrite our stories. After all, love isn't just about feeling brave. It's about daring to be honest." As Emily absorbed these words, she felt a hidden well of strength rising inside her. There was something liberating in the thought of sharing their vulnerabilities. She knew it would mean confronting uncomfortable truths, but the potential for freedom called to her loud and clear. "Then what happens next, Grandma?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with possibility. Eleanor smiled, her gaze dancing over the fresh page. "Let us dive deeper. Let us uncover the legacy of love hidden beneath the burdens we've carried." Just as Emily turned the page, a shiver of anticipation enveloped the room. What new revelations awaited them? Would they find the courage to transform their pasts into a future filled with genuine connection? The fresh page came alive with Eleanor's careful handwriting. Emily leaned in closer, her heart racing. "After he left," Eleanor began, "I spent years wandering through the fog of my own regrets. Life felt monochrome, painted in shades of gray. I would sit in my little kitchen, staring at the empty chair across from me. I made small meals, creating an illusion of normalcy, but the laughter that once filled that chair was now just a ghost. Each day blurred into the next, and I thought I could handle it. But truly I was just hiding." Emily's heart ached for her grandmother. She felt the weight of those empty moments, the solitude woven into Eleanor's life. "You were so brave even when it didn't feel like it," she whispered. Eleanor smiled softly, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. "I didn't know what bravery looked like back then. I thought it was the act of holding everything in. I buried my feelings, believing that was my only way to survive. But deep down I longed to scream, to cry, to let the world see the truth behind my facade." The fire crackled and Emily shifted closer, caught in the spell of Eleanor's story. "What changed?" she asked, her voice steady despite her anxious heartbeat. Eleanor took a deep breath, her fingers tracing the edges of the page. There was a moment, a simple one but profound. I was at the market, surrounded by families buzzing with joy. I saw a mother lift her child, laughing, twirling him in the air. I felt a pang, a longing I hadn't admitted to myself. That night, I returned home to an empty house and sobbed. I realized then that I was tired of living half-heartedly, of tiptoeing through life without embracing love. It was then that I vowed to find my way back. A quiet warmth filled the room, yet air crackled with urgency. Eleanor continued, it wasn't easy. Taking the next step was a risk. I started volunteering at the local community center. The laughter of children and the stories of people opened my heart again. I realized I wasn't alone. Everyone had burdens they carried. At that center, I found a kind of belonging that felt new and almost dangerous. But it was a start. Emily felt a surge of admiration for her grandmother. You gave yourself a chance to love again. That's incredible. Yes, but with every small victory, the shadow of my past loomed. Eleanor's gaze turned serious. I had to confront my fears. Someone once told me that the past isn't a chain that binds us but a story that shapes us. I began to explore my feelings, allowing myself to be seen. How did you do that? Emily leaned in, captivated by the unfolding journey. Eleanor's face lit up with a flicker of resolve. I learned to express myself. I wrote letters not just to him but to myself, to the girl who used to dream big. It felt cathartic. I poured my heart out, throwing away the need for perfection. I admitted my mistakes. I claimed my truth. Emily felt a spark ignite within her. That's what we're doing now, Grandma. Sharing our truths can change everything. Eleanor nodded, a proud smile growing wider. Yes, it can. When I finally found the courage to reach out to him years later, it was like freeing myself from those chains. I wrote him a letter, raw, honest, and vulnerable. I didn't know if he would respond, but I needed to try. That was my rebirth. What happened? Emily held her breath, entranced by every word. Ah, my dear. Eleanor's voice softened. The weight of memories thick in the air. That's a story for another time. The fire popped unexpectedly, and Emily's excitement turned to disappointment. You can't leave me hanging like that. But Eleanor chuckled softly, her eyes sparkling with mischief. It's part of the journey, dear. Vulnerability takes time. And perhaps I'll share the rest when you're prepared to face your own truths. What's holding you back from being brave like I was? Emily swallowed hard, the question echoing in her mind. The fire flickered, shadows dancing around the room, as she felt the weight of her own fears. I just want to know if I can find the courage to. Eleanor leaned closer, her voice a whisper. Together we will uncover that answer. Just know, my dear, courage comes in unexpected forms. Are you ready to embrace what's next? The promise of revelation hung in the air, and Emily's heart raced with anticipation. What truths would they uncover next? What challenges awaited them on this journey of vulnerability? Emily felt the warmth of hope swelling in her chest as she considered Eleanor's words. Together, they could rewrite the past, the painful stories that had lived in silence. With her heart racing, she turned to the next page, ready to embrace whatever was waiting for them. As I wrote that letter, I realized that genuine connections require not just honesty, but also the willingness to face our vulnerabilities, Eleanor had penned. You see, dear Emily, life isn't just about the good moments. It's about learning to navigate through the mess, threading joy through sorrow. Emily could feel her grandmother's energy shift. This wasn't just a journey into Eleanor's past. It was shaping a path forward for them both. What did he say? She asked, hunger for closure pushing her forward. Did he reply? Eleanor laughed, a sound that seemed to lighten the air around them. I didn't expect him to. But then 3 weeks later a letter arrived. My heart raced. I hesitated before opening it, fearing what it might contain. Would he still care? Did he? Emily held herself taut, eager for the resolution they both needed. He wrote with kindness, Eleanor went on, her voice growing softer, as if the memory was sacred. He said he'd always cherished our time together, but had never understood my struggles. He invited me for coffee to catch up, to finally talk about all that lost time. He wanted to understand, and in that moment, I realized that by simply reaching out, I had unlocked the door I'd kept shut for so many years. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes. Grandma, that is beautiful. She gripped the journal tightly, feeling the weight of Eleanor's journey wash over her. But it wasn't that simple, Eleanor continued, her brow furrowing slightly. Fear still lingered. I didn't know how to blend the memories of my past with the hope of new beginnings. I had to let go of old resentments, ask for forgiveness especially from myself. Where did you find the courage? Emily's heart raced again, growing even more connected to her grandmother. It was nestled in those letters. Honesty gave me strength. I learned to forgive myself for my past, to understand that I was never meant to be perfect. What mattered was that I tried. Could I find that same courage? Emily felt the vulnerability creeping up like a long-forgotten friend. Courage is in his straight path. It's quite messy. Eleanor smiled, her eyes twinkling. You have to confront those things inside that scare you. It's scary, yes, but always worth it. Feels like a great weight is lifted. That night in the market, a moment of honesty awakened something deep within me. It's what led me back to life again. The answer was clear. Emily felt it. She would have to embrace her own fears, her own struggles, unafraid of the weight of her past. I want to rewrite my story too, Grandma, she said, the weight of determination on her lips. I want to do it together. As the words left Emily's heart, something shifted in the atmosphere. The evening felt thick with promise. Eleanor's face beamed with pride. You're already doing it, my dear. By being here, by opening your heart to me. You're taking brave steps into the unknown. Sharing your story holds power. Suddenly, a spark of thought ignited in Emily. What if we celebrate this moment, Grandma? Right here, right now. She could almost see the seeds of connection blossoming between them. Eleanor chuckled, shaking her head. How did I raise such a spirited granddaughter? Let us toast to our journey to love, and to breaking down these walls. Emily's voice rang clear, a commitment to redefine their future. They grabbed 2 mugs, filling them with hot cocoa, rich and sweet, reminiscent of the holidays that shaped their lives. Laughter echoed as they raised their mugs, filling the room with warmth. For the first time, Emily felt the past no longer weighed heavily. It was the beginning of something new. As they sipped their cocoa, they shared cherished memories, catching up on years long lost. Remember when you taught me to bake those Christmas cookies? Emily chuckled. Eleanor's eyes sparkled at the memory. Those cookies were a disaster. But we had fun. Baking together was about the laughter, not about the outcome. You've always been my heart, Emily, Eleanor whispered. The night wore on, and with every shared memory, every laugh, they peeled back layers of distance. They spoke of dreams and fears, of moments that had shaped them, building threads of connection that stitched their hearts tightly. Finally, when tranquility engulfed them, a comfortable silence settled in the fire, crackling softly, cradling their souls in warmth. Grandma, I realized something. Emily broke the quiet, her voice soft but illuminating. It's not just about breaking down the walls of our past. It's about holding space for the messiness of our lives together. I want to learn from you, really learn. I need to know how to move forward with and without my fears. Eleanor nodded slowly, her heart swelling with gratitude. It's a painful but beautiful journey, child. But love can ease that pain. Share, break open, and heal together, because we are never meant to shoulder it alone. Promise me you'll never forget that. I promise, Grandma. Emily's heart brimmed with certainty. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but standing together, united in their shared truths, they knew they could weather the storms. And they would emerge renewed, stronger, guided by love that couldn't help but blossom between them. As they wrapped up for the night, Emily glanced at her grandmother, feeling that the most profound legacy they had uncovered was the unbreakable bond of familial love. In that small, humble home they had reclaimed each other, and in doing so breathed life into a deeper understanding. Together, they were unstoppable. Now this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. You need to leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.